And I don't know why the heck I thought to say this, and I'll regret it to my dying day. But I said, well, speaking of heavy, did you see Kelly Clarkson last night on TV? And she had some big TV appearance on, she'd come back after having a baby or whatever, and she was on, I think, American Idol or whatever show she was on. And she was very heavy. She was huge. I mean, she put on a ton of weight. And of course, she had a baby, you know, and women have weight issues and everything. Like a dummy. So and he made a crack about, I had said earlier that I had ordered a Domino's pizza the night before. I said, but the good news is, yes, I did eat the whole pizza, but I ordered thin crust, so it wasn't so fattening for me. Well, he said, when I said, did you see Kelly Clarkson? Then he made the comment, yeah, maybe she should have stuck to the thin crust instead of the thick crust. Well, Joe Concha, and I'll never forgive this guy, Joe Concha used to write for Mediaite. Joe Concha is one of these guys. And I'm sure he's a nice man, but he's everywhere. He's on Fox News, and Sean Hannity's always trying to prop him up. You need to have your own show, and like, give him his own show, for crying out loud. He's on the Weekend Show, and he wrote for Mediaite, and then he writes over for the New York Post. He's one of those guys that bounces around, and God bless him, but you know, he's ubiquitous. Well, he was writing for Mediaite. And he must have been listening that day, and he writes a column how Mike Gallagher and Chris Wallace fat-shamed Kelly Clarkson on Mike Gallagher's show. Us two guys, and he really was critical of both of us, which is so ironic considering, you know, that he's supposed to be this, you know, conservative, you know, common sense guy, and called us out and said we were fat shamers. Well, his column at Mediaite went thoroughly through the roof viral. Before you know it, I'm getting calls from People Magazine, TMZ, Perez Hilton. Everybody is covering the way I fat-shamed, along with Chris Wallace, Kelly Clarkson. Now, the reason it devastated me is because I knew, considering the mountain of coverage it got, that it was going to get back to her.
Of course.
And the thought that my words could hurt this beautiful, extraordinarily talented young woman,
good person, salt of the earth person.
It just gutted me, and it just killed me because, and I was on the couch just the whole weekend. I'll never forget. It was a Friday that this all hit the fan, and I called, and it turned, and a little behind the curtain stuff here. Chris and I at the time shared the same agent, and I called our mutual agent and said, I got to apologize. I said, and Chris didn't want to apologize. He said, Mike, if you apologize, it'll open the floodgates. And I said, I don't think it opens the floodgates. I think it acknowledges that we shouldn't have said what we said. And you can debate, and you could debate the merits of what we said. I mean, all I literally said was, wow, she got big. That was literally my quote. And his quote was, well, maybe she should have gotten the thin crust or whatever. That was it. We didn't like call her fatty or go into this whole thing.
10 minutes on it.
No, it was a throwaway, and that stupid Joe Concha decided to write a column out of it. And so I said, I got to apologize. And there was a lot of pushback. Finally, I said, sorry, I'm doing it. And I got out my laptop and I wrote an apology that, again, wasn't because I got caught. It was because it got back to her, and I knew it. And I just hated the thought that any of my words could have hurt her. Now, people told us, look, she's gotten way worse criticism, and she laughed it off, and she's had a very successful career, and she's done just fine, and she's took the weight off after the baby and all that. But the point of that is, here was the lesson I learned. I was getting hate mail from Switzerland. I mean, I was getting bombarded. Oh, Mark, you should have seen it. It was awful. I mean, I couldn't believe. I've never had that kind of literally worldwide scrutiny in my life.
And when exactly was this? How many years ago?
I blocked it out. Lord only knows. I don't know how many.
It's a good bit. Easy,
over a decade. I mean, maybe 15 years ago. I don't remember when it was. But I will tell you that I put a statement together, and I wrote it, and they were mad at me and all. And by the way, Chris wound up apologizing too. I think much to his chagrin. And P.S., weeks or months after that, they pulled the plug on the Chris and Mike segment. Never again was Chris going to come on my show.
Do you think that was why?
It was because of that. Of course it was. And it was actually stated to me that the executives at Fox thought that I got him in trouble, and they didn't want to put him on my show anymore. Please. And I didn't get him in trouble. But anyway, but here's the point. I wrote this statement out. Look, and I even said, for a fatty like me, or for a tubby guy like me, to cast any aspersions on any man, woman, or child's physical appearance is ridiculous. I am so ashamed. I'm so sorry. I didn't do one of those qualified apologies, like if you were offended. I said, I am sorry.
Yep.
I am
That's
sorry.
the way to do it.
Well, you know what happened? You know what happened to all the criticism I was getting? It stopped immediately. It was like a spigot got turned off. It's like people were like, oh, wow, okay, the guy apologized and he owned it.